As new information comes to light and as we receive questions from you guys, we want to send regularly scheduled Chromebook collection updates for you to keep everyone in the loop. So here's your Chromebook update for today. Update number 1. How do we know when a student is supposed to turn in their Chromebook? Take a peek at this video to see an example.
So here's an example 7th grade schedule where the child has math, language arts, then math extension B1, Spanish, history A, science, and then ELA extension for B4. So for math, we're going to assume that the child has passed the SOL test, and so they are exempt from the final test, and therefore they do not need their Chromebook for math. In language arts, they passed their SOL, so they are exempt. They do not need it for A3 the last week of school. Math extension, they're exempt. Spanish, they do have a final exam, so they are not exempt. So they do need their Chromebook for that final exam. History, they are not exempt. They do need it for a project. ACE, they're exempt. Science, they're not exempt. They do need the Chromebook for a final project. And then, of course, they are exempt from ELA extension. So what students are going to do is they're going to look for the last day where they see a yes. And so here I see that I need a yes on June 17th, or I have a yes on June 17th. They need it June 17th. So this child is not going to turn in their Chromebook until Thursday, June 17th. And so the child will circle Thursday, June 17th, because that is the last day where you see a yes. Now, some students may see a yes, the final yes, on June 15th, depending on their schedule. Some will see it June 16th. There probably won't be a lot of people for June 14th and even June 15th. But again, you're looking for the last yes in this column, and that will determine the date that students will turn in their Chromebook.
Update number 2. All teachers are collecting Chromebooks. We miscommunicated some information the other day about teachers collecting devices. This document right here simply shows the rooms in which Chromebooks will be collected and the teacher in charge of communicating with families of students who did not turn in devices. You may not be in charge of a classroom here, but every teacher will be collecting Chromebooks at the end of each exam block. Let's take a peek at a quick scenario to see how this will work. Again, all teachers will be collecting Chromebooks. As you see here, we have added a new tab to our master spreadsheet called Room Availability. We created this document because we were alerted that there will be some classrooms who will be teacherless when students return to that classroom to turn in their Chromebooks. For example, during A3, room 43, I believe all the students have an elective, so there was no teacher that was available to collect them. So I will be in that room during the last 20 minutes to receive any Chromebooks. So you'll see any of the yellow highlighted rows or cells will have a person in the room to collect those Chromebooks as needed. If you notice any inaccuracies on this spreadsheet, please let us know. So let's take a look at Amanda Jones's schedule for this scenario. So during A1, Amanda Jones is in room 46. And so the last 20 minutes of that block, Ms. Jones is going to click on the room 46 tab, and she is going to collect those Chromebooks and mark and check off as needed those students who turn in the Chromebooks and make any notes as necessary. Now, as we go back and look through her schedule, on A2, Jones is in room 43. She's going to click on the room 43 tab and collect any Chromebooks after looking at that exam semester test schedule / Chromebook collection document on the top of kids' Chromebooks. Now, even though Ms. Jones is collecting devices in 43 and 46, she's not in charge of 43 or 46. We can see Wilkinson is in charge of 43. Jones is actually in charge of 54, one of the rooms she does teach in. She's in charge of making contact with any of these kids if they do not turn in either a Chromebook, charger, or both. Let's take a look at another scenario, an elective teacher, for example. Ms. Stoneman teaches in room 54, which is one of the classrooms where Chromebooks are being collected. Now, during A1, she has some kids who stay in 54, which is their home base, but she also gets other kids from other classrooms. So, what's going to happen during the last 20 minutes for her is one, she's going to send any student whose home base is not 54 to their home base class to turn in their Chromebooks if they need to turn it in at the end of A1. For those kids that she has that their home base is 54, she will be collecting those Chromebooks from those kids. Now, in addition, when we get down to her class for A4, she actually gets a whole new set of kids from, I think, 4 different classrooms in this class. So there's nobody in room 112 where their home base is 112 during A4. They're all new kids. So she's going to ship all of her Spanish 1 kids out to their respective home base classroom, and then she will be getting any kid from 112 that needs to turn in their Chromebook. So again, she will click on the tab for 112, and any kid that comes back to the classroom that turns in their Chromebook at the end of that block, she will be monitoring and checking off this sheet here. Now, if we go to Bradley, for example, Bradley teaches mostly in room 103, but 103 is not one of the rooms listed here. It's not a room where Chromebooks are being collected, only kids' home-based classrooms. So when she is covering an ACE block, for example, she will actually be collecting Chromebooks in that ACE block. So bottom line, folks, if you teach in any of these classrooms in column A, you will be collecting Chromebooks at the end of each block. As always, thank you guys so very much for your time. I know it's very precious. Please keep asking questions because that helps us better fine-tune this process. We are ears wide open for you guys. Also, I will be having and holding a Q&A session via Zoom this afternoon, Tuesday, June 8th, starting at 4 o'clock, and I will also have a Q&A session on Thursday after school starting at 4 o'clock for anybody who just needs to run through a few scenarios or ask any questions.